big game tomorrow. I think. I mean, I'm a big FA Cup fan myself. I'm someone that takes it very seriously. You're hosting the best team in the league at the moment in Arsenal, and we'll get onto the title race a bit later. But how are you feeling about the match? Are you feeling confident? You nervous going up against this Arsenal team for the first time this year?
Do you know what? I'm a little bit relaxed because it's the cup. The league game coming up next month's going to be a bit tasty, I think, because City's got to turn up. You know what I mean? We've not been playing the best at the minute. We know we've got problems in our camp. There's certain players making noises about wanting to leave. Pep's mentioning mentality. So we know we're not at the races. I've been every game this season. I've seen it myself. Some games we look unbelievable, and then some games we look disjointed and we're lacking something. I'm not sure what it is. That's down to Pep, best manager in the world, to find it. But tomorrow, I think we're in a good position because we're on the back of a couple of wins. But the last couple of games, he's dropped a lot of the big players. Whether that's mentality, whether it's injuries, I don't know. But Kyle Walker, Cancelo, Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, Foden, they haven't played. So I think we're in a position where they've had a week's training. They've obviously had a few words behind closed doors. I'm expecting them to come in the side against Arsenal and fight for the place. And to be honest, that's more or less our first team. But at the minute, it's not because we haven't been playing them. So I'm expecting City to go strong. There's a week's rest till the next game. But Arsenal, they've got the tails up. They're playing great football. The fans are all behind them. The players are behind them. They're coming to the Etihad 100% confident, thinking we can take anyone. And rightly so. That's the mentality of champions. If you come to the Etihad and start throwing the towel in, saying, oh, it's the Etihad and we never win there, and shit yourself, you'll get beat. You've got to come there with your chest out and go, we're a different breed now, different team, got us playing, let's go. And whether Mikel wants to show his hand for the league game and go full strength, I doubt it. But there's one or two Arsenal players, Lakonga, El Neni, people like that probably need game time, because this run's going to come to a tough period with cup games, Europa League. These players need to be ticking over. So I just don't know what teams they're both going to play. So it's pretty hard to weigh it up.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I think it's such a nice prelude to the league games coming up. The fact that we've kind of got to pretty much February and you haven't played each other yet, with the way the season has gone, is quite fun, because then you're going to play each other twice in the second half of the season. It's almost like what to prioritize for Arsenal. So you've got this situation where they're top of the league by 5 points with a game in hand. They could theoretically go, they win that, and I think their game in hand's coming up pretty soon. I think it's against you, the actual game they'll play to go level on games. They win that, and suddenly they're 8 points clear, level. So do they rest a few players tomorrow, and make sure that they keep the parties and whoever else may be fit for the Premier League? At the same time, it's going to be at least 7, 8, 9 days until they play again. So there's almost that kind of adage to say, well, let's just go for it. Let's try and beat City. For you, there's obviously not a massive amount of pressure, but you're out the Carabao Cup. You may still think you're favourites in the league, but City have set a standard of winning trophies is key. So you can't rest too many players at home, especially with how, as you say, with how disjointed you've been in games. There's almost this element of, do we have to go strong? So I'm really excited about it. It's a bit of a shame it's the Friday night game. For me, I kind of feel like you leave the bigger one for, late on a Saturday, late on a Sunday over the FA Cup weekend. But I don't think there's any other exciting games to look forward to after this. The rest of them all seem pretty, pretty simplistic, really. Like, Spurs are playing Preston, United have got Reading. Like, these should be easy games, in my opinion, that they should be able to walk through and have no problems with. But yeah, I'm intrigued about tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a good game. And I mean, Arsenal, they keep. What do you make of the kind of barriers that people keep putting in Arsenal's way? So there's always, every week, there's like, well, if they pass this test, I might start to believe in them. A lot of the media talk about that. Do you think this is another test, or do you think they've proven themselves to be worthy title contenders and one of the best teams around at the moment?
I think coming to Etihad's a test for anyone. but we're not the same side as we was last season. So, it is what it is. It depends how Pep's going to set up. I mean, because Arsenal are top of the league and 5 points clear, you're always going to get people that are going to start putting these barriers. Oh, wait till they drop off. Wait till they get injuries. Wait till this. But if you look back at the Leicester season, they did exactly the same. They kept saying, Leicester's going to drop off. Don't worry about it. They're going to have a fade. They're going to get injuries. And before we knew it, Riyad Mahrez is doing fucking step overs and pinging it in the top corner at the Etihad. And I'm thinking, shit, Leicester's going to win the league. I'm thinking it came that fast from out of nowhere. And Arsenal's got the same mentality as Leicester. The whole club's bouncing from top to bottom. It's a massive turnaround from what they're used to. They've just got to keep marching.
Yeah, they do. It's the turnaround is crazy, and they could be adding to it as well. I mean, they just brought Trossard in, who's I think Trossard's a baller. We've seen what he's done to some of the big teams.
Great player.
He is, and I think you put quality players around him as you've got at Arsenal, and a bit more space, a bit more time. You're going to see him come alive. Better balls being played into him. The amount of chances he creates, but he's been, over the years, he's been creating chances for Neil Maupay and Danny Welbeck, respectively. That's very different from putting opportunities into Nketiah, Saka, Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus when he arrives. In terms of giving them your players, though, and I wanted to ask you about this because I made a claim the other day. I feel like City kind of disrespected Arsenal a little bit, and I don't mean it rudely. I just mean almost we don't see you as a threat, so you can have Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus. Do you feel like there was a bit of an underestimation almost? Because I can't imagine if Arsenal were title contenders last year and finished 2 points behind you, I can't imagine you would have allowed them to have Zinchenko and Jesus in the summer. Do you feel like there's an element of underestimating the progression and letting them have two of your top players? Do you kind of wish they hadn't done that?
No, I don't think it is that. I mean, you've got to realise that these two players are top quality players. They're not like the fringe players, and Man City can dictate where they want to go. Manchester City as a club has always said that if any player wants to leave, they can leave. Zinchenko and Jesus went to Arsenal, who were arguably a top 4 team at the time, challenging for it, with a coach that they both know. So it's not like we sold them to Liverpool or anyone. I don't think anyone expected Arsenal to go for the title, but they expected them to be in the top 4. But I think Pep's touched on it today in his press conference. He was like, no, he said Zinchenko could have left many times. We accepted a bid for 8 million from Wolves and a couple of seasons before. And Zinchenko went to Pep and said, he mentioned it today and said he wanted to stay. So he stayed. So I don't think it's disrespectful. I just think it's two quality players. Instead of being fringe players at Manchester City and getting bit part roles, they deserve to be regular starters. And Jesus deserves to be a number 9 somewhere and play week in, week out. So I understand the frustration of the players, but it was time to move on. And it could have gone the other way. It could have gone to Arsenal. Arsenal could be 5th or 6th now. Nobody blinks an eyelid. Nobody says anything about it. But it's the fact that Arsenal are doing well. And have them two helped? 100%. Have they brought a mentality to Arsenal that was different? 100%. So I don't think City disrespected anyone. I think we haven't got a crystal ball. I think two of our great long-serving players decided to go. They went to Arsenal. Sterling, one of our greatest players, went to Chelsea. Now, you'd have said at the time, Chelsea was a bigger rival to Man City than Arsenal. But that didn't work out, so nobody's saying anything about it. So, listen, it is what it is. Nobody wishes on Alexander Zinchenko more than me. The kid came from the Ukraine. £1 million. He didn't have a club because Shakhtar couldn't play. He came to Man City. We loaned him to PSV Eindhoven. He wasn't good enough. They sent him back. Pep turned him into a left back. First few games, he was horrendous. Didn't know what he was doing. Teams were targeting him. Could have gone to Wolves. Decided to stay. Winning mentality. I'm good enough to play for Manchester City. A lot of City fans at the time thought, this kid's mad. He's never getting in our first team. Flipped it on its head. Became an important part of Man City. Became the captain of Ukraine. Now moved to Arsenal and he's leading them to a title charge. The kid's got that mentality and you've got to respect it.
Listen, the progression of the guy, and it's funny you said about playing at left back because I always remember in his early days, if he was at left back, I used to watch him be like, right, they could target that and it'll be a weakness. And He just got better and better and better, which shows again the old adage of hard work beats talent every day of the week, and it does. And he's obviously talented and got technical ability, but if he hadn't have put those hard hours in and worked hard, he wouldn't be the player he is now. And the way he performed against us at the weekend, I kind of watched the game back. I want to say it was yesterday. It may have been the day before. He was
Yeah.
ridiculously good in that kind of inverted fullback role.
But
Just
Pep
dictate the play.
created that role for him.
Yeah.
Pep created that role for him. Pep taught him that role, and he learned that role at Man City. The passion you see from Zinchenko, it's nothing new. People say, look at the passion of Zinchenko. He never had this at Man City. He did. I was there every game. He's the first one at the away end. He's fist pumping. He's challenging. He gives 100%. If you lose, he's over. You can see it in the kid's face. He's disappointed. He's a winner. And when you get winning mentality players and put them in teams, it breeds that mentality. It only came out the other day that he was said in his first training session that the players need to step it up. We should be going for the title. He said some laughed at him. But that's the difference in winners and losers, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. And I think that, that's the thing. Pep Guardiola is that good. And I think football is I don't know if you feel like this, but football has evolved in terms of systems seem to be so much more important now than before. And if you've got a player he's good at doing, it's one of the reasons why this year it's really weird what they've done with Mo Salah at Liverpool when they've tried to make him more creative when he's a deadly goal scorer. It just seems weird to kind of take someone out of a role they're brilliant at, and if Pep said, no, I want you to be a marauding, attacking fullback like Andy Robertson at Liverpool, Zinchenko wouldn't be the player that he is now. And I think that knowing what someone's skills are, how do I adapt my system to give that person a role where their talents flourish is massively important. And I think what makes Pep so good. Every now and then he has a kind of galaxy brain moment where he kind of goes a bit too far with it. And maybe he did against Chelsea recently, and then made the changes to the second half. And in the second half, you absolutely smashed them to bits, which we all kind of expected.